गणपतिं ववामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदः शृण्वन्नो बुधस्रीप्रसादनम् ॐ श्री सद्गुरुमहागणाधिपतये नमः। नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात्। महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्न्यै च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात्। पुरुषाय विद्महे महासेनाय धीमहि तन्नः षण्मुखः प्रचोदयात्। भूतनाथाय विद्महे भवपुत्राय धीमहि तन्नः शास्ता प्रचोदयात्। आदित्याय च सोमाय मङ्गलाय बुधाय च गुरुशुक्रशनिभ्यश्च राघवे केतवे नमो नमः। आञ्जनेयाय विद्महे वायुपुत्राय धीमहि तन्नो हनुमत् प्रचोदयात्। कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमारी धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गे प्रचोदयात्। त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणि नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ नमो पुरातपतये नमो गणपतये नमः प्रमदपतये नमस्ते अस्तु लम्बोदराय एकदन्ताय विघ्नविनाशिने विघ्नसुताय श्रीवरदमुक्तये नमो नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा विनायका नमस्कारि हरदेवताभ्यो नमो नमः। सर्व अपराधक्षमार्थं सर्वमङ्गलप्राप्त्यर्थम् अलङ्कार अञ्जमुखदीपं दर्शयामि आदरणीयं समर्पयामि। दिव्यरक्षां धारयामि द्रष्टोमेन पञ्चगतेन मध्यमिदं वातेन सहरेण रक्षां धारयामि। ॐ हर
Namaste, Ram.
Yeah, namaste, Mahodaya. Yeah, I think we don't need any introduction to Satyam Garu. So, Satyam Garu,
yeah. Thank you, Andy. Namaste to everybody. And welcome to, I believe it is the 4th lecture on Pajagovindam. Om Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Om Sri Ganapati Sachidananda Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Om Sri Ganeshaya Namaha. Sri Saraswatyai Namaha. Sri Padavallabha Narasimha Saraswati Sri Guru Dattatreya Namaha. Om Namo Hanumate Namaha. So far we have completed 2 shlokas in Pajagovindam out of the 31. So today we will start with number 3. Adi Shankara says in stanza 3, Nari stana bharanabhi desham društva maga mohavesham etan mam savasadi vikaram manasi vichintaya varam varam. Nari stana bharanabhi desham društva moga Društva maga mohavesham etan mam savasadi vikaram manasi vichintaya varam varam. Naristana bharanabhidesham društva maga mohavesham. What Shankara is suggesting is don't get deluded, don't get fooled, don't get deluded by seeing the full bosom and the navel of the ladies. Etan mam savasadi vikaram yetat. These are all that is modification of mamsam and vasa. That's the vikara, that's the change, or that's the modification, the transformation. So these are all modification of flesh and fat, and nothing beyond that. And always, Shankara says, always contemplate these things in your mind. Think about these things. Constantly repeat these in your mind so we won't forget them. Rather than suppressing these thoughts, developing a technique for subliming these thoughts is far superior. Suppressing any time is a little difficult. So what he says is subliming these thoughts, evaporating them away, that's far superior. In the first two shlokas, Sri Shankara indicated to us to give up on our urges, to process more. You need more. Give me more, give me more, give me more. Process more and to enjoy. Human beings, of course, reach up to these things for two primary reasons. One is to escape our temporary pain at that very moment, and then also to attain happiness. Human body can seek its fulfillment only in the fields of sense objects. So with the help of well-trained mind, intellect can curb the sense object gratification for higher possibilities. So we should opt for Shreyas rather than prayas by effectively using our discriminatory power or our viveka. We should opt for only Shreyas, not for prayers. Now, why is the individual and the society, they are becoming more and more greedier and lustier? Well, the simple answer, of course, is we are all incomplete. And we do that. We act to complete ourselves. We need to satisfy ourselves. We are totally dissatisfied. So when we act, we expect some fruit. Our actions are not pure. So the fruit we want, and the fruit that we want is really the bliss, the Satchidananda, the Brahmananda, the infinite joy, the bliss. It's not pure either. The fruit we want is not pure because our thoughts are not pure, our actions are not pure. What we want is a pure joy, infinite joy. And we're not going to get that with impure actions or incomplete actions. Thus, we yield and we succumb to a limited fruit, specifically that which is very, very tangible. And wealth is the most tangible fruit. And sexuality, that's no different either. And these never satisfy us. The more you have, the more you want. So we endlessly pursue different combinations and different permutations of these fruits only to grow more incomplete. So that's what the essence of stanza 3. Now we move on to stanza 4. Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvat jeevitam atishaya chaparam vidhevyadhyabhimanakrastam lokam shokahatam jasamastam nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvat jeevitam atishaya chaparam vidhevyadhyabhimanakrastam lokam shokahatam jasamastam. What is the meaning of this particular hymn? This life is as unstable and fickle as a drop of water. That's dancing, the standing and dancing in a lotus leaf. Everyone in this entire world, we seized and we are tormented by diseases, by rogas, vyadhi, grief, egoism. Egoism in this context of pride, that's abhimana that we all have. After addressing 3 out of the 4 purusharthas, which are dharma, artha, and kama, the 3 of them in shlokas 1, 2, and 3 respectively. In this current shloka, in the 4th shloka, Shankara is addressing how uncertain the human life is by comparing it to a water drop on a lotus petal. Life is full of uncertainties, and life is riddled with the tensions and worries all the time. Yet human beings, we are attached to this limited and very desire-centric physical world, thinking that it gives us happiness. Human life is finite. It's not infinite. Human life is finite in this physical world. And we need to utilize the time very, very wisely to understand what the purpose of our life is and why were we born as a human. Acharya Shankara is guiding us here not to build attachment and waste unnecessarily our time with this uncertain physical world to seek happiness, which is temporary. And now is the time to start the inward journey to understand who we really are and realize the goal of life. So, if we imagine the drop of water standing on the lotus flower or sitting on the top of a lotus flower, it shines like a pearl. It's bound to fall any time from that leaf. It's very uncertain, very unstable, very fickle. Same thing happens with life. So that's where Acharya Shankara is drawing an analogy of our lives in this bhavasagara, in this ocean of life, and he's comparing that to the life of a water drop on a lotus leaf. And like the water drop can fall off at any time from that lotus leaf, life can also stop and cease to exist anytime. So knowing that, why wait till the end to seek God? The time is now. The urgency is needed. We need to do that now. Something about it to learn about God realization and self-realization. Life is very, very volatile. Like a water drop on this lotus leaf, which is very unsteady and falls off. This body also might drop off at any given moment. Nobody knows for sure. That's true of everyone or anyone. And this shloka, it helps to dispel the fear of death. And death is for sure. That's for certain. There are only two things people say here. For sure, they always exist. One is the taxes you pay, and the other is death. These are constant. These never change. They're always there. This body is susceptible to diseases. It's ridden with ego. The world is filled with sorrow. So to find an escape mechanism from the troubles of this world, we need to praise and serve God, and that's the only way. And that's what Shankaracharya taught us in the first shloka as Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Once, to understand this, let me narrate a short story here for you. Dharmaraja was engaged in a friendly game of dice, Judam, a gambling event that honestly no one should get involved with. So during that time, a poor man came to him for alms, for begging. He wanted something. So Yudhishthira, he said, he did not want to be interrupted and disturbed from the game. So he told the man respectfully to come back the following day, and he promised him that he would certainly fulfill his wish for whatever he wanted. And what happened then was Bhima was clapping and laughing out loud. Stunned with this action, Yudhishthira asked the reason for his outburst. Why in the world he was doing that? And Bhima said he was very impressed that Dharmaraja knew for sure that he would be alive the following day to honor and fulfill this promise to the beggar. Realizing his folly and his mistake, Dharmaraja at once he summoned the beggar and gave him all that he wished for, knowing that, yeah, Bhima was right. Dharmaraja did not know that he would be there next day to fulfill his desire to help the poor man. So the moral is no one really knows when the death will come and knock on the doors. So unexpectedly, the circumstances change. Let's think about Rama. Rama, on the eve of his coronation, after all preparations were made and everything is set and done, and all the guests have arrived. The priest had arrived, but he was banished for 14 years into the forest. Except for Rama, no one else in the human history, could have done what Rama did. Rama's dad, Dasharatha, he begged him to stay one extra night. Rama, please stay one extra night so I can spend with you. Because he could not really live without Rama. And Rama declined, saying his decision might change. So he did not want to delay. If he delayed, he might have changed his mind and may not have gone to the forest and may not have satisfied his father. That's why when one is prompted by an instinct to do a good thing, it's best to do it right away and do not postpone it. So through this analogy of the lotus flower, Shankara is also revealing the deeper Vedantic meaning. Water and the pond and the lotus flower. So the water in the pond is very similar, very, very analogous. It's like all-pervading, unmanifested Brahman. Brahman, Vishnu, is all-pervading, it's everywhere. The droplet on the lotus flower that is sitting and dancing on it is a jiva. So the lotus flower is the manifestation of the world. The flower, the lotus flower, is born from the water. So unmanifested, meaning avyakta, to the manifested form. The drop of water takes the flower into the real world and tries to attach itself to the flower. But we know in the end, both jiva and manifested world, or the vyakta prapancha, the vyakta jagat, they have to merge into the unmanifested, into the avyakta. And that anusandhana has to happen. The water drop, jiva, is no different than the water in the pond. The unmanifested, or that avyakta, all-pervading Brahman, that aprameya avyakta Brahman, actually that is what in Sundarakanda, Valmiki calls Hanuman as an avyakta, aprameya avyakta, Parabrahmamitadu. That's what he said. It's also indicated by this Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that, you are it, you are that. So now moving on to Shloka 5. Yavad vitto bhajana saktah tavan nija parivaro raktah paschad jivati jajjara dehe vartango pina pruchati gehe. Yavad vitto bhajana saktah tavan nija parivaro raktah paschad jivati jajjara dehe Vartam gopina pruchati gehe. A person's family member, they love and they respect him, the head of the household, only so long as he is an earning member. When he becomes old and weak, no one in the family will even bother to inquire about his well-being. Shankara in this stanza, he speaks about the transitory nature of the wealth, name, and fame. We command respect in our respective communities. We all command respect in our own respective and corresponding circles and in our own associations of influence, as long as we are of use to those around. When our utility factor, or in my own language, the Upadrashta usefulness index, the UI, it wanes away. So when my usefulness index wanes away, it goes off, it ebbs, so does the respect that we command. Nobody cares for us then. Many of us acquire great wealth, name, international fame and recognition, and respect. We become corporate executives, super athletes, great singers, and great priests, and seem to know all the right people in the right places. But when titles are taken away from us, we don't have any title when you retire, when you get older. You know, you're not a vice president, you're not head of an institution. So when our abilities are diminished with the time, very few people, if at all any, remember us. But isn't that truly the nature of the world? Of course. One moment you will be hailed as a great leader of man. You're put on, you're placed on a pedestal, you're decorated, and in the very same breath, people will make you the villain of the piece at the end of it. That's why Sri Shankara is asking us to temper, to moderate, to control the value we place on these frills of life. This does not mean we must shun wealth and fame. In fact, we must enjoy it while you have it. But we must derive our sense of value and self-worth from something deeper and more permanent. We must find our value, our true value, our worth from pursuing our goal. And what is it? That's self-development and self-purification. Because the only thing that remains with us are our spiritual assets, which are gained through introspection, reflection, and contemplation on the higher values and higher principles of life. In a final analysis, of course, wealth and fame are toys to be enjoyed and no more. But there must always be the vision of that something beyond, of something more permanent, of the one thing that never leaves us. That is that Atman, or the divinity within, that Divyatman inside. In stanza 6, moving on to it, Acharya says, Yavat pavano nivasati dehe, tavat pruchati kushalam gehe, gatavati vayau deha paye, bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye. Yavat pavano nivasati dehe, tavat pruchati kuchalam gehe, gatavati vayau deha paye, bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye. As long as the life force, as long as that prana, that vital air, that exists in the body, everyone around inquires about the well-being. However, when this life force leaves the body, and the person is dead, and there's only the dead corpse over there, even the individual's wife shudders and trembles and dreads at the sight of this corpse and asks for that corpse to be taken away ASAP, as soon as possible. In this shloka, Adi Shankara points to our attachment to the body. We're talking about the preoccupation we have with our bodies is pointed out. Body does not have intrinsic value of its own, the native value of its own. If life is there, the body is valuable. If life is supporting principle, the prana is departed. If it is gone, the sacred body will become unsacred. Not knowing this reality, we are constantly attached to the body. So, as long as it is life, loved ones and others, they inquire about our, welfare. We are in the delusion, we are under that moha, under that bhranti, that people love us. But really, they only show their affection as long as there is a life. When the life departs the body starts decaying and decomposing. Even the spouse that loved the body so dearly at one time is afraid of it. Once life is gone, the body, which has been an object of love for so many people, it becomes an object of fear and contempt. So, what do we do? To sweat and toil, you fight and procure, you feed and you breed, you clothe and you shelter the body. They're all in themselves needed, necessary. But to spend a whole lifetime on these alone is a waste of human skills and abilities. Human body is a tool. It's an instrument to be used for the worship of Lord Govinda. Body is for doing sadhana. Why is this human body for? It is for doing sadhana, for abhyasa. To that extent, we need to take care of the body so the mind can be free and pursue self-knowledge. Moving on to stanza 7. Balastavat Kridasaktaha Tarunastavat Taruni Saktaha Vruddhastavat Chintasaktaha Parame Brahmani Kopinasaktaha Balastavat Kridasaktaha Tarunastavat Taruni Saktaha Vruddhastavat Chintasaktaha Parame Brahmani Kopinasaktaha. An infant, a boy, a child, is very strongly attracted to games, toys, and playful activities, as we all know. A youthful man is strongly drawn towards a woman. The old are eternally engrossed in worries, in pangs. No person, no one has any inclination or fondness towards Paramatma, the Absolute, the Parabrahman. Human being primarily passes through 4 stages of growth. Bala, which is the infancy, then the childhood, which is a Kaumara, the manhood, Yavanam, and old age, the Vardhakya. The mind is so tricky. It's always finding some excuses. It always has some justification and rationale that there are more important things to do in life than spending time on God realization. One of the misconceptions that people have is that spiritual pursuit can be postponed to old age. Why now? I will do it when I retire. So it can be postponed to old age or retirement. First of all, we don't know how long we will live. So postponement is a delusion. Second, we are so immersed in materialism for so many years. Suddenly having to change at old age is next to impossible, if not impossible. Mind soaked in materialism, it will be very, very difficult to change. Materialistic vasanas will be very, very high. We need to reflect upon our priorities in life. What's the goal of life? Why are we born? Where did we come from? Where are we going? This type of inquiry leads us to seek self-knowledge and self-realization. Once we realize that whatever we get from this material world is impermanent, and only the Lord is the permanent one, then we can slowly turn our attention to the Lord. Instead of spending all of our time in worldly pursuit, we can begin slowly spending some time towards the Lord. As we age, we can spend more time to turn our attention to the Lord. Constantly, we should reflect on the painful realities of being born, growing old, falling sick, and eventually dying. Pain is there all through life. Withdraw ourselves from the preoccupation of the senses, the indriyas, which run like horses, like crazy, and seek the changeless and the immutable. That's what needs to be done. We need to withdraw from the fields of pain-ridden sorrows, the ephemeral gains and the shocking losses, and be attached to the divine activities and contemplating on the Lord. So we got 2 things in here. You got a balloon, right on it. That is God. Now there's another balloon, that's the world. So we have an option to choose one of the 2 bubbles or one of the 2 balloons. Either we choose the world, attach ourselves to the physical world with the Vishaya vasanas and the materialistic tendencies and things, or we can attach to God. So that's our option, options to choose from. Affinity towards God will bring about an efficient detachment from the ever-changing realms of objects. Parents, we all have one of the highest and greatest responsibilities, honestly speaking, to direct our children towards the highest goal. Every being needs to be happy. All intelligent beings know the only means to happiness is self. As such, if parents, if we don't facilitate, if we do not encourage, if we do not lead our children in the right direction to pursue the higher values and the higher virtues and the higher meaning in their lives, they are neglecting their dharma. And we as parents are failing and slowing their children, our children's, their development down. And we are really then are engaging in disservice more than service. Stanza 8. Kate kanta kaste putra samsaro yam ativa vichitra kastyatvam kakuta ayata tatvam chintaya tadita parata tatvam chintaya tadiha bhrata kate kanta kaste putra samsaro yamativa vichitra kastyatvam kakuta ayata tatvam chintaya tadiha bhrata bhrata, oh brother, ka te kanta, ka means who, te kanta, te means your, kanta is wife. So ka te kanta, who is your wife? Kaste putraha, kahate putraha, who is your son? Samsaroyam ativa vichitraha. This samsara, that is replete with birth and death, and this is totally strange, vichitra. To whom do you really belong? Do you belong to the wife? Do you belong to the son? Do you belong to the daughter? Do you belong to the neighbors? Who do you really belong to? Where have you come from? Kuta ayataha. Where do you come from? Contemplate on this supreme truth. Tatvam chintaya tadiha bhrataha. While you live in this gross body, we need to think about it and ponder upon those truths and facts right now. To help you appreciate the meaning of this stanza, let me narrate the story of King Chitraketu from Bhagavatam. King Chitraketu Maharaja, he had many wives, but yet he was childless. Poor king. Once, Angirasa Maharshi, he arrived at his kingdom, he performed a yajna and gave the prasadam to the first queen of this king, Chitraketu. And her name was Krutadyuti. The king was very overjoyed then. So what this Angirasa Maharshi did, he did a yajna. He wanted to at least temporarily help the king alleviate his dissatisfaction of being childless. So he performed a yajna and he wanted to ensure that the king was blessed with a baby. Krutadyuti, in due course of time, delivered a baby boy. The king was overjoyed, spent all the time with his newborn and with Krutadyuti only, and neglected his several other queens, and he abandoned his kingly duties. The other queens were jealous. Of course, you know what happens when they become jealous. They poisoned the boy and the boy died. The king was grieving. Angirasa Maharshi arrived and consoled the king by saying, my dear king, Chitraketu, what relationship do you really have with your son? With this son? In your previous birth, in the present birth, and in future one? What do you think you have? It's possible that there could be no relationship at all between the two of you. These are transitory relationships. They come and go. Just the seeds emerging from a fruit, they disperse in different directions to emerge as separate trees. The souls who are born out of Paramatma and who are caught in time, Kala, they keep meeting and separating periodically. Therefore, my dear king, it's wrong to lament for your son. All this is taking place because of Ishvaramaya. Coming to think of it, let me tell you this, my dear King Chitraketu, for your house, honestly, you were destined to remain childless. But to make you happy, I performed the yajna and I ensured that you were blessed with a son. Please know, the son born to you was illusory because you were destined not to have any children. But temporarily, you were blessed with the child. So this was illusory son. Please increase your detachment, your vairagya, and continue to rule wisely. begin performing selfless action. Offer the fruits of your work to the Almighty. So, from this story, we now understand that the relationship between any two beings is purely illusory. Every being that has a body has a fixed longevity. We all have a finite life period, lifespan. So, it is possible that at times children that die earlier, sooner, they predecease the elders. And the experience, of course, it would be agonizing and painful. In such situations, if the person stands firmly and recollects these facts about the relationships, it would be very, very beneficial. So now we move on to stanza 9. Satsangatve nisangatvam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischalatatvam nischalatatve jivan mukti Satsangatve nisangatvam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischalatatvam Nischalatatve jivan mukti. Satsangatve, to the company of the good, to the company of the wise, good old people. Nisangatam, there arises a non-attachment, no association. And from that nisangatva, nirmohatvam comes, non-attachment. Through that non-attachment, nisangatva, through that non-association, non-attachment, arises a nirmohatvam, freedom from delusion, no moha. And from that nirmohatvam, nischala tattva arises. Nischala is immutable. Tattvam is reality, the truth. Nischala tattve. So through that immutable reality, jivan mukti, there comes the state of liberated in life, or the jivan mukti. So friendship with great Mahatmas, association, satsang with the great Mahatmas and the learned mighty masters of wisdom, prevents the mind from associating with materialistic objects and issues. So that's nisangatva. This in turn ensures the mind is rendered free from illusion, which is nirmoha. And due to this nirmoha, the person acquires the permanent knowledge. The person who acquires such permanent knowledge will attain jivan mukti. All scriptures, you all know, they extol the greatness of satsanga. Further, there are many, many stories about the importance of satsanga. Let me narrate a story here. Once Narada, he wanted to know who exactly could be called a Satpurusha, a great being, and the importance of satsanga, how satsang could influence the people. So he approached Vishnu. So he went to Vaikuntha and approached Vishnu, and he praised him and asked this question. Vishnu replied, my dear Narada, on earth, in the city called Mahishwatipuram, a sow has just delivered. Sow means that a female pig is called a sow. So it just delivered. So please go and visit her. So Narada was confused, but out of respect for Vishnu, he visited the sow. So this female pig glanced at Narada as Narada was approaching her, and immediately he died. And perplexed with this stuff, Narada returned and he explained the matter. He gave eyewitness news to Vishnu. Vishnu said, oh, Narada, that's nothing. Don't worry about it. Now in that very city, Mahishwatipuram, a bird has just perched itself upon a tree. Why don't you go and visit that? As soon as the bird saw Narada approaching it, the bird died. Then Vishnu asked Narada, is that right? Okay, why don't you do one thing then? Why don't you do is go and visit a cow in the same city, Mahishwatipuram. Narada was really shaking and trembling as he approached the cow. Just as he feared, the cow died now as soon as its eyes rested upon the sage. So worrying that he was truly responsible for a gohatya, which is sin accrued due to killing of the cow, Narada returned back to Vaikuntha and he relayed the story. Lord Vishnu asked Narada to visit the newborn prince at Mahishwatipuram. So Narada was thinking Vishnu is going crazy, I don't think he knows what he's doing. That's what Narada thought. But out of sheer respect, yet objecting to what Vishnu's instructions were, he still went ahead. So Narada, he objected to making those steps, but still went ahead. So seeing the sage approaching him, the little infant was all smiles. Narada was astonished at this. More than this, he was thankful. The infant was still alive, even after seeing him. Happily, he returned to Vaikuntha and said, "Oh Lord, I asked you a simple, silly question about great souls, Satpurushas, and the influence cast by them on the surrounding people. In response, what you did, you made me log in frequent miles. You made me travel across different planes and meet some beings in each trip. Even after all these trips, oh my Lord, I'm afraid my question remains unanswered. What's going on?" So Vishnu laughingly responded and said, "Narada, did you not understand even now? People like you who eternally recite the names of the Lord and do the Nama Smarana, Nirantara Nama Smarana, and whose mind is eternally pure and free from any form of wavering, those are the true Satpurushas. Due to association with the Satpurusha of your caliber, of your cadre, of your ability, the pig was able to evolve higher and was born as a bird. And then it is the same pig was born as a bird, then as a cow, and then thereafter as a prince. It was able to get the human birth. And durlabham trayamevaitat daivanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshrayaha. Yes, manava janma. The birth as a human is durlabham. It is very, very difficult, if not impossible. It's daivanugraha hetukam, says Viveka Chudamani. So that's such is the value of this human birth. So what can be better proof than this to your question about satsanga, Narada? The benefit of satsanga is acquiring, gaining nisangatva. And nisangatva rewards the person with the ability to live by himself, meaning in ekantavasa. Remain silent. Obtain control over the senses, the indriya nigraha, and achieve shanti or peace. Due to these ability, the state of nirmohatva, it dawns upon the person. In turn, this blesses the person with the ability and the intellect to distinguish between the permanent and impermanent objects in this world. In other words, all illusion is wiped out, and the person properly understands the truth and the reality. And this is the state that is known as vasana kshayam. So Sri Shankara has explained such a deep and profound essence in such a very, very simple stanza and in a manner that's easy to understand. Now stanza 10. Vayasi gateka kama vikaraha shushke nireka kasaraha kshine viteka parivaro jnate tatveka samsaraha. Where are the desires and lust after the youth and manhood has vanished? Does a lake exist after it has completely dried up? Where are the family and relatives after all the wealth is evaporated, after all the wealth is depleted? Would anybody there with you? Similarly, where is the samsara, life and its bondages, after the supreme truth is known? To ensure that the Atma Tattva, the essence of the self, reaches one and all, Adi Shankara uses three different approaches with simple but varied examples. The most common examples that each and every being is able to relate to are the desire, kama, family and relatives, parivara, and water beds, such as the ponds, the lakes, and what we call kasara. And hence these have been chosen as examples. We discussed earlier that every being that takes a gross body or a sharira goes through the four primary stages of infancy, childhood, youth, and old age. During old age, a person loses the sharpness that existed during the youth. Body shrinks and it does not cooperate. The passion for desires and the love that was experienced during the youth will now be absent. The person will be incapacitated and helpless. As he is free from passion, he will preach the rules of dharma very efficiently and effectively. A pond is full of water. It attracts people who approach it for fulfilling their needs. If the water in this pond were to dry up, then who would approach it thereafter? Will the pond exist? No. Likewise, the house is, as long as the house is abundant with wealth, the family members will enjoy all the comfort that it can grant. Once the money is gone, all members will desert it. Do birds continue to nest on the tree, which has dried up completely? In the same fashion, the family members will abandon such a house. At that moment, what will be the fate of that person who has lived his entire life under the illusion that his family and his money were all permanent companions and that they were going to take care of him and look after him when he is older? That was a fallacy. And there was a fantasy. What would be his state of mind at that time? Until this knowledge is obtained, the person will be bound by this samsara and will be tormented by it. So that Atma Tattva, the nature of the self, need to be learned and understood. Obtaining supreme knowledge, which is Brahma Jnana, it means experiencing the truth. That is, I am Paramatma, Aham Brahmasmi. That is the state of Jivan Mukta. At that point, apart from the self, he cannot perceive anything else in this world. That's why it's the most supreme transcendental knowledge. Jnane Tattve, it implies that the person should have a burning desire to get this knowledge. And one should do relentless jhana. He should strive to experience and realize this. Now, moving on to Shloka 11. Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kalat sarvam maya mayamidam akhilam hitva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kalat sarvam Maya mayamidam akhilam hitva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. Let not money, power over people, and your youth cause arrogance and pride in you. Everyone amongst these, each and everyone amongst these things, may that be money, the power over people, your youth, etc., each and everyone among them will be destroyed by time, kala, in just a minute. In this illusory world, distance yourself from the materialistic objects and aim at acquiring the state of Brahmapada. So moving on to now stanza 12. Dinayaminyam sayam prataha sisiravasantam punarayataha kala kridati gacchatyayuho tadapinamunchatya chavayuho dinayaminyam sayam prata sisiravasantam punarayataha kala kridati gacchatyayuho tadapinamunchatya chavayuho dinayaminyam, day and night. Sayam prataha, dusk and dawn. And winter and spring, Sisira Vasamtavu. And all of them will come again and again. Punaha ayataha. Time plays. Kala kridati. Time plays and the life ebbs. Ayuhu gachati. Even then, tadapi. Ashavayuhu namunchati. Even then, the gust of desire, it does not get cleansed. It will still remain. So everything every living being through experience is very well aware of the fact that the movement of time cannot be stopped. Kalo jagat pakshaha. Kalo jagat pakshaha. It's a very old proverb, adage, aryokti. It means that time has the capability and the power to swallow the entire creation in one go. Yama is the synonym for Kala. Time is a form of the Supreme Lord. The sun keeps rising and setting in this manner every single day. How many mornings and evenings have this world seen until now? How many more are yet to come? No one knows. But up to now, we still don't know how many times the sun has risen and set. The sun keeps rising and setting in this manner every single day. Each year has 6 seasons, beginning with the spring, Vasanta, ending with the winter, Shishira. That's why Shankara is saying, Shishira Vasanta. Seasons come and go, year after year, endlessly. The wheel of time, the Kala Chakram, it keeps rotating eternally without any beginning and ending. As this wheel rotates, the lifespan of the being depleted. We are unable to grasp this important point. Just as the water from a broken pot or with a hole, it drains out. The lifespan of a being gradually ebbs away. Our life is like a bubble in the ocean. What can the beings controlled by time do in such a situation? All this is the divine sport of time. After being aware of this fact, if we continue to move about carelessly, then it is a truly foolhardy on our part, and there's no doubt about it. We don't seek to understand the true aim of this human life, the purpose of this human life, and to take appropriate measures to reach the goal. Like the race horses, these senses, these indriyas, they keep running behind the objects of enjoyment. The agony that's undergone to enjoy these materialistic sensory pleasure, no, we cannot imagine. That's unimaginable. Even Mother Sita Mata, she was enticed with a golden deer. These materialistic sensory pleasures, they glitter and they all attract us. They drown us in this ocean called samsara. And the root for all this is our desire. One who is chasing materialistic desires can never entertain the desire to reach the Supreme Paramatma, the absolute truth, and the absolute Paramatma. That's the root behind all this creation, just like the water bubbles in the ocean. He creates, meaning the Supreme Paramatma creates. He sustains and dissolves these millions of universes. So Adi Shankara, he sought that even those people who are at the bottom rung of the ladder in life, the ignorant persons, they should be elevated, and hence through this stanza is reaching out to everyone. So now moving to Shloka 13. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatula kim tavanasti niyanta trijagati sajjana sangati reka bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatula kim tavanasti niyanta trijagati sajjana sangati reka bhavati bhavarnava Tarane nauka. Kate kanta, who is your wife? Or what is this worry about wealth? Dhanagata chinta. Why is there nothing to regulate or control? Who is vacillating like the wind, vatula? To cross this cycle of life and death, this janana marana parampara, to break it, to cross it, to overcome that. Bhavarna vatarane. In all these 3 worlds, association with good men becomes the only boat. Bhavati eka nauka bhavati. That's the only boat to cross that. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesha Kashayambara bahukruta vesha Pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho udara nimittam bahukruta vesha jatilo mundi lunchita kecha kashayambara bahukruta vesha pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho udara nimittam bahukruta vesha. One is with a matted hair, meaning the jatila. Another one with a shaven head, mundi. Yet there's another one with the hair plucked out or pulled out, lunchita keshaha. One is with a saffron attire, kashayambara veshaha. Each is a fool. All these are fools, for he sees and yet does not see. Pasyan picha, na pasyati. They see, but yet they don't see it. They only don diverse disguises, bahukruta veshaha, but only for feeding their belly. Udara nimittaha bahukruta veshaha. Orange is the color of fire, into which oblations are offered to the deities, and which is considered a great purifier. It is signifying this fact that monks wear orange and saffron. Similarly, an ascetic, a sannyasi, a parivrajaka, shaves his head because hair plays an important role in enhancing one's appearance, the outlook. And concern over the hair is a demonstration of one's attachment to one's body. A part of the ritual marking the entry to sannyasa diksha samayam, that involves the plucking of some hairs off one's head. In short, these are all but symbols of an inner commitment to purity and renunciation in the pursuit of Brahman alone. Those who adopt such symbols without seeing the true purpose, those are truly deluded. Mudhaha. Their adoption of such appearances then ends up as an act of self-aggrandizement only, or as a base, subterfuge for finding food and mundane necessities, but not truly for self-realization. Angam galitam palitam.
7:55 అవుతుందండి. మిగతా నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ లో చేద్దామండి.
Okay.
హనుమాన్ చాలీసా.
Okay. Thank you.
ధన్యవాదాలు.
Sri Guru Charana Saroj Rajani Jamana Mukura Sudhari Varana Raghuvara Vimalaya Jodaya Kapalachari Buddhihina Tanujanike Sumira Upavana Kumar Balabuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalecha Vikar Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jaya Kapi Jati Huloka Bujagara Ramaduta Atulita Balathama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Vikrama Bajarangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Kesangi Kanchana Varana Viraja Suvecha Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kecha Hatha Vajra Arudvaja Virajay Kandhe Munja Jane Bhusajay Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandana Teya Pratapa Mahajagavandana Vidyavana Guniyati Jatura Rama Kaja Kariveko Atura Prabhu Charitra Suniveko Rasiya Rama Lakhana Sita Manavasiya Sukshma Rupa Dharisiya Hidikava Vikada Rupa Dhari Lanka Jarava Bhima Rupa Dhari Achura Samhare Ramachandra Ke Kaja Savare Laya Sajivana Lakhana Jiyaye Sri Raghuvira Harshivura Laye Raghupati Kinhe Bahuta Badayi Tuma Mama Priya Bharata Hi Samabhayi Sahasa Vadana Tumaro यशगावै असगहिद्रीपति गण्डलगावै सरगादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीश नारद शारद सहित अहिषा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही किन्हा राम मिलाया राजपद दीन्हा तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर कल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेली मुख माही जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी चरण तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज संहारो आपै तीनों लोका हंकत कंपै भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवै महावीर जब नाम सुनावै नासै रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावै मन क्रम वचन जान जो लावै सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काजा सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावै सोई अमित जीवन फल पावै चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है बर सिद्ध जगत पुजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता असबर दीन्हा जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजना राम को पावै जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावै अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई महा जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्तन धरई हनुमत से ये सर्व सुख करई संकट कटई मिटाई सब पीरा जो सुमिरई हनुमत बलवीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई यह शतवारा पढ़ कर जोई छूटई बंदी महा सुख होई जो यह पढ़ई हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा की जय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा पवन तनय संकट हरणा मंगल मूर्ति रूपा राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभूपा हृदय बसहु सुरभूपा हृदय बसहु सुरभूपा ओम नमो हनुमते नमः.
Yeah, I think it's 8:03 now. Unless anybody have any questions, I think we can. Yeah.
Satyam garu, thank you so much. We will be concluding all this year-long healing prayers with you on 30th of this month. We feel so blessed, and we feel that our prayers are heard. And this Hanuman Chalisa, which was started in Ganesha temple, has reached Hanuman temple, and it is so heart touching that you yourself rendered this Hanuman Chalisa, and we have to wait until 30th again to conclude Bhaja Govindam, and then again Hanuman Chalisa by you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And I will try to wrap it up in the next session to my best abilities. Okay? Thank you.
We're blessed, and this is recorded, so we'll send it. Thank you.
And thank you all.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Shubharatri.
Shubha.